So here we're going to talk about the future of dashboards. And just to review and summarize what we've covered so far, we're going to need a lot of data. We need descriptive data to help us see how students are doing. Historical data is going to help us to build predictive models. And the more assessment and process data we have on a given student, the better able we're going to be able to figure out what they actually need to do differently, right? Once we do, then we need to really work on putting in prescriptive instructions. These are going to be particularly important in a student-facing dashboard. We haven't really looked at any examples of that here today, but even teachers would probably benefit from having additional information about what kinds of study habits students who are struggling are using versus the kinds of study habits that tend to be more productive. We're going to need theory in order to come up with that. We need the theory to guide what we measure, to make sure that we're giving pedagogically sound predictive advice, and to design effective visualizations. We're not going to get all the data that we might need. That could be in some cases because of privacy concerns or because of data collection failures where, if you're not logged in from campus, we can't see what the student is doing. It could also be because humans are unique individuals and we can't account for every second of their life, right? Even even when they're wearing their smartwatches. But what we do know is that we need to move away from social comparison. And I'm going to just reiterate the quote from earlier. If we rely solely on social comparison for motivation, then being better than others becomes the norm in terms of what defines a successful learner. And that should not be our goal as educators. Uh, we really have to make sure that we're doing what's right for the student. And when we use social comparison, it can do terrible things because showing June's grades to Jerry isn't going to help him study. Showing uh, Rajet that June is performing better than him, right, isn't going to help if he already feels like June is already better than him, right? We need something that shows him a strategy that helps him to improve, right? If we have Susie in the class and Susie took Cal 2 and advanced organic chemistry in her private high school, telling Jerry to study in the same ways as Susie is not going to be an effective strategy, right? So we need to really be paying attention to what kind of prior knowledge people have and how that might affect things when we're designing both our predictions and our prescriptions with these dashboards. And there are other very human reasons why people might fail, right? Telling June to study more isn't going to stop her from failing a test on the morning that her mom died. Nor, right, should we really expect her to be there, right? The good dashboard would be able to tell us that there was a severe family crisis and that she needs that opportunity to make up that test. But finally, we want to move away from social comparison because students typically do better when they work together. And that means that we probably should quit pitting them against each other. And what can we do instead? Because again, I said in an ideal world, we'd have a small liberal arts college. Maybe that's not ideal for some of you, but we'd have a small college where the professors had time to chase down this kind of information, and we'd be able to connect with other people in their life that could warn us that somebody's had a catastrophic event or that they're really pushing themselves beyond their limits, either at work or with their studying, and that they need additional help. One really important suggestion in the field has been what's called a blank box dashboard. And this was a suggestion that came out 2 years ago in an article led by Alicia Wise. And basically, what they suggest in this article is that you go ahead and give the information that you have. And then, things like emotional factors that impact students' performance, if you don't have that data, you put a big question mark into the dashboard that says this needs to be investigated further, right? So we know things like part-time jobs or family obligations or learning disabilities, or even whether or not the student feels like they belong there, all impact learning. And if we only point people towards the data that is the low-hanging fruit in our little spotlight underneath our street lamp, then we're missing that information, and people are going to focus just on that the same way we did, rather than going out and looking for other possible explanations that might be influencing student data. So here is a very rough example of things that are not available in this dashboard that we could give in a list for our big state university organic chemistry class. So we might say, hey, this dashboard does not tell us how many hours were studied offline, or what calculus misconceptions they might have, or what clubs they're participating in, their off-campus job hours. If they're not working in the library on campus, they might be, waiting tables, and that could be creating some tension between the amount of time that they need to work and the amount of time they need to study. There could be other family obligations. Somebody could have small children or, a younger sister that needs help. Um, and there could be a lot of other things that, we could have some agency over. We could provide additional support for learning disabilities. We could help to make sure that they feel like they belong on campus and to mitigate other imposter syndrome issues. But, none of that is present in the data that we'd given over the course of these examples. And if we don't really prompt people to think about these things, it's likely that they're just going to, hone in on the thing in the street lamp and ignore this bigger picture. So, to summarize, there's a lot more to data visualization than just making pretty charts. Data visualization and learning analytics is still a very new area of research, and we could be doing a lot of things better. The effects of these visualizations should all be studied. We need to have an iterative design process where we're going back and forth with people that would use them so we see how they react to them and whether or not they're actually effective and motivating. But it's clear from what we've seen in the research so far that just telling struggling students that their performance is low is not going to help. And we need to make sure that we have helpful data before we do much more than exploration and present it to an outside audience. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you help to revolutionize this field. I hope you've enjoyed this section, and I wish you the best of luck with the rest of this certificate. Take care.